Number 15. A nation that drinks more beer than anyone on Earth. Located in the heart of Europe, the Czech Republic covers an area of about 30,100 square miles and has a population of nearly 11 million people. Prague is famous for its castles, old rooftops, and streets with a medieval atmosphere. However, the capital reflects only one part of Czech life. To understand this country, it is necessary to step into neighborhood pubs and observe how people eat, drink, talk, and build relationships around a glass of beer. Because here, beer is not simply a drink, but a part of the country's history, customs, and national identity. Czechs have long been known as the world's leading beer drinkers per capita. The average person consumes about 3 gallons of beer each year. This figure is gradually declining, but it is still enough for the Czech Republic to maintain a special place in global beer culture. In many pubs, a glass of beer is even cheaper than a bottle of water. Therefore, beer is not a luxury reserved only for weekends, festivals, or major celebrations. It appears at meals, gatherings with friends, after work, and during quiet evenings at a familiar neighborhood pub. Beer pubs in the Czech Republic are important social spaces. People go there not only to drink, but also to talk, share family stories, discuss work and sports, or simply sit together after a long day. In a culture that is fairly reserved with strangers, beer pubs become places where relationships develop naturally. There is no need for showy displays, just a table, a few glasses of beer, and enough time for trust to grow. The influence of Czech beer extends far beyond the country's borders. Pilsner, a lager style that originated here, now forms the basis of about 2/3 of the beer produced worldwide. Many familiar lagers today bear the influence of an idea first created in the Czech Republic. A key ingredient behind this flavor is Saz hops, which are still grown around the town of Žatec. These hops provide a clean, mild bitterness and a distinctive aroma, helping to build the reputation of Czech beer. Czech beer culture has also not remained fixed in the past. Non-alcoholic beer is now the fastest-growing segment of the industry, showing that people still want to maintain the habit of drinking beer while being more flexible about health, work, and modern lifestyles. This ability to adapt helps beer continue to hold a central role. In the Czech Republic, beer is not only found in a glass, it is present in the memories, friendships, industry, and daily rhythm of an entire nation. Number 14. Czech women. When people mention the Czech Republic, many travelers often talk about its historic cities, famous beer, and attractive women. Czech women are often described as having bright eyes, a natural presence, and a simple yet elegant style of dress. They rarely try to attract attention through showy displays. Instead, what people tend to remember longer is their calm demeanor, confidence, and the way they comfortably express their individuality. However, focusing only on appearance would overlook the most important part. The Czech Republic is a highly educated society, where women increasingly hold prominent roles in education and professional life. Among younger generations, women complete university at a higher rate than men. Education gives them the ability to build their own careers, make personal choices, and live independently without feeling the need to impress others. As a result, many Czech women are described as straightforward, practical, and clear about their views on life. These characteristics are also reflected in dating culture. A foreigner visiting the Czech Republic may be surprised not to receive an overly enthusiastic welcome during a first meeting. Czech women, like many local people, are often fairly reserved with strangers. They may be polite, but keep their distance, speak little, and avoid sharing personal matters too quickly. This is sometimes mistaken for coldness, but it actually reflects a culture that values personal space and sincerity more than superficial small talk. Here, trying to show off, talking too much about yourself, or creating a perfect image may not make a good impression. Honesty, natural behavior, and respect are often more important. A relationship may develop slowly, but once trust has been established, it often becomes sincere and lasting. Czechs do not easily show affection simply to please the other person. Therefore, their warmth may appear later, but it often feels more genuine. Prague's nightlife is one of the easiest places to observe this style of communication. The city has historic beer halls, live music venues, and clubs hidden deep inside medieval cellars. The atmosphere can be lively, but it still maintains a relaxed rhythm instead of turning every evening into a performance for tourists. The most famous streets are often crowded, expensive, and filled with services aimed at visitors. Meanwhile, the smaller places preferred by locals offer an experience that is closer to everyday Czech life. The beauty of Czech women, therefore, is not limited to their appearance. It is also reflected in their independence, education, calm demeanor, and ability to protect their personal space. They may not quickly open up to strangers, but once they consider someone part of their lives, that friendliness is usually not mere social courtesy. It is a relationship built through time and trust. Number 13. The truth about Czech freedom. The Czech Republic is often ranked among the most secular societies in Europe, with one of the highest percentages of non-religious people in the world. However, limited attachment to the church does not mean that life here lacks principles. On the contrary, Czechs have built a society where personal freedom is respected, while public order, responsibility, and legal boundaries remain clearly maintained. The spirit of freedom can be observed directly on the streets, especially in Prague. People are free to choose how they dress, have tattoos, take part in legal gambling activities, or live according to their own choices without facing too much judgment from the community. Society generally interferes less in matters considered private, as long as a person's choices do not harm others. This is why Prague feels more liberal, international, and open than many other cities in the region. However, Prague should not be used to represent the entire country. When leaving the capital and visiting smaller towns, travelers may encounter more traditional communities where views on family, lifestyle, and social behavior remain fairly conservative. This difference shows that freedom in the Czech Republic is not uniform. It varies by generation, location, and living environment. One of the issues most likely to cause misunderstanding is cannabis. Since the beginning of 2026, adults have been allowed to grow a limited number of cannabis plants at home and possess a certain amount for personal use. Medical cannabis can also be prescribed by doctors for some cases of chronic pain, while low-potency hemp products are sold openly. However, this does not mean that the Czech Republic has become another version of Amsterdam. The country still has no system of licensed stores or cafes selling recreational cannabis. Plans to establish a legal commercial market have not been implemented. Despite many online rumors, stores aimed at tourists usually sell only products with very mild effects, while commercial sales remain prohibited. Therefore, visitors need to clearly distinguish between being allowed to possess a limited amount for personal use and having the right to freely buy and sell it on the market. The Czech Republic once developed into a discreet center for certain areas of adult entertainment. Local people rarely speak openly about this, but it reflects the way society generally avoids interfering too deeply in the private lives of adults. What is most notable is that all this openness has not led to disorder. The streets remain clean, transportation is organized, and daily life is relatively safe. Czechs may not care much about what others wear, what they believe, or how they choose to live, but they still expect everyone to respect the law and avoid disturbing the community. Freedom in the Czech Republic, therefore, does not mean being allowed to do anything without limits. It is the right to live according to one's own choices, accompanied by the responsibility not to violate the rights of others. Number 12. Czech's food. Czech cuisine was not created to be light or elaborate. It developed in a cold climate where people needed hot, energy-rich meals that could keep the body warm. As a result, a traditional Czech table often includes meat, thick sauces, steamed dumplings, cabbage, and dishes with rich flavors. This is not a cuisine focused only on presentation. What matters more is the lasting feeling of fullness, warmth, and the ability to pair perfectly with a glass of local beer. One of the most beloved Czech dishes is svíčková. It usually consists of tenderly cooked beef, covered in a creamy sauce made from vegetables such as carrots, celery, and onions. The sauce is rich and slightly sweet, and it is often served with soft steamed dumplings and a portion of cranberry sauce. The combination of meat, cream, vegetables, and sweet and sour flavors creates a highly distinctive dish that is both rich and well-balanced. Recipes for svichkova have been documented since 1826, but in many families, the most important version is still the recipe passed down by a grandmother or mother. Each household may adjust the proportion of vegetables, the level of sweetness, or the way the sauce is prepared, and almost everyone believes that their family's recipe is the best. Alongside svichkova, there is goulash, roast pork served with dumplings and cabbage, and many stews suited to the colder months. A simple but popular street food is fried cheese served in a bread roll. The cheese is coated in batter and fried until crispy on the outside, while remaining soft and hot inside. These dishes can feel quite heavy to people who are not used to them, but when paired with Czech beer, they create a natural combination. Czech cuisine does not exist only in restaurants. In the fall, many families take baskets into the forest to search for wild mushrooms. Mushroom picking is a long-standing tradition, and also an activity that brings generations together. Children learn from their parents and grandparents how to distinguish edible mushrooms from dangerous ones. The harvested mushrooms are brought home to make soups, sauces, stews, or are dried for use during the winter. This knowledge is not found only in books, but is passed down through repeated trips to the forest over many years. However, not every dish advertised as traditional Czech food truly belongs to Prague. Trdelník, the sugar-coated rolled pastry found on most tourist streets, is a prominent example. The pastry has origins connected to former Hungarian and Slovak regions and was hardly common in Prague before international tourism increased sharply. After the 1990s, shops later turned it into a local symbol for visitors. Trdelník can be delicious, visually appealing, and worth trying, but it reflects the tourism industry more than Prague's culinary history. To understand authentic Czech food, look for svichkova, roast meat, dumplings, wild mushrooms, and restaurants where local people still sit together over a glass of beer. Number 11. Beyond Prague. For many travelers, the Czech Republic is almost synonymous with Prague. The capital is home to a massive castle, historic squares, famous bridges, and a skyline that looks as though it came straight from a postcard. However, Prague is only the first gateway. It is only after leaving the capital's crowded streets that visitors begin to see a more diverse country, where medieval towns, mining heritage, unusual chapels, deep forests, and peaceful valleys coexist within a relatively small territory. A few hours south of Prague lies Český Krumlov, a medieval town built around a gentle bend in the river. Narrow cobblestone streets run between old houses, while a large castle stands high above, overlooking the entire town below. What makes Český Krumlov special is not only its historic beauty, but also its rare level of preservation. The town was not rebuilt to create an old-fashioned atmosphere for tourists. Much of its architecture has simply survived for centuries without being completely destroyed. As a result, walking through the historic center feels as though time has slowed down. A completely different story unfolds in Kutná Hora. During the 14th century, underground silver mines transformed it into one of the wealthiest centers in the region. The enormous wealth generated by silver was used to fund Gothic churches, religious structures, and royal ambitions. Traces of that prosperous era remain visible in the city's architecture, revealing how a small town once had a major influence on the economy and power of an entire kingdom. Near Kutná Hora is the Sedlec ossuary, one of the most unusual sights in Europe. From the outside, it appears to be only a small chapel. Inside, however, the remains of tens of thousands of people have been arranged into chandeliers, decorative garlands, and patterns covering the walls. Human bones are not hidden away but have become part of the architectural space. The sight is frightening, solemn, and almost impossible to forget. The Sedlec ossuary makes visitors reflect on death, faith, and the ways people preserve the memory of those who have passed away. Beyond the towns, the landscape of Bohemia offers a different rhythm. The region resembles a vast, natural basin surrounded by hills, forests, and quiet valleys. A clearly marked network of hiking trails runs through nearly the entire area, making hiking a familiar part of local life. Despite its relatively small size, the Czech Republic has many heritage sites and protected landscapes. Český Krumlov tells the story of a town that never lost its past. Kutná Hora reflects an era of wealth built on silver. Sedlec confronts visitors with history in its most chilling form, while Bohemia opens into forests and valleys that feel almost completely removed from the crowds. Those who see only Prague have encountered only the country's most famous side, not truly understood the Czech Republic. Number 10. Quirky Wonders. The Czech Republic is famous for its castles, medieval squares, and historic rooftops. But sometimes the things visitors remember most are not its grand structure. It may be nothing more than a passage so narrow that it requires a traffic light, a clock more than 6 centuries old, cars seen on every road, or a wall that never keeps the same appearance. These small and unusual details create a Czech Republic that is historic, creative, and marked by its own unique sense of humor. Hidden in Prague's Old Town is one of the narrowest public passageways visitors can encounter. The passage is only about 19 inches wide, just enough for one adult to walk through. 2 people can barely pass each other when approaching from opposite directions. So the city installed a small traffic light system at both ends. Pedestrians press a button and wait for the signal before entering, almost as if they were driving on a miniature road. A space that seems too narrow to be useful has become an interesting attraction thanks to a simple and humorous solution. Not far away is the Prague Astronomical Clock. Built in 1410, it is the oldest astronomical clock in the world that is still operating every hour. Crowds gather in front of the town hall to watch a brief performance as mechanical figures move one by one above the clock face. To modern viewers, the display may last only a moment, but the fact that a machine built more than 6 centuries ago continues to function is remarkable in itself. The clock is also connected to a dark legend. According to the story, after completing the work, a craftsman named Hanuš was blinded by city officials so that he could not create a similar masterpiece elsewhere. The story does not necessarily reflect historical fact, but it has become part of Prague's mythology, giving the clock an air of mystery. Beyond the gears and numbers, visitors can see. Another symbol appears not in the town squares, but on roads throughout the country. Škoda cars can be seen almost everywhere and are regarded as a source of Czech industrial pride. From a local brand, Škoda has become a familiar name in many international markets. The widespread presence of these cars reminds visitors that the Czech Republic is not defined only by castles and heritage, but also has a modern manufacturing industry closely connected to everyday life. Prague is also home to the John Lennon Wall, where layers of graffiti, song lyrics, and messages of peace continually overlap. The wall is never truly finished because each generation adds new images and ideas. It is both a tourist attraction and a constantly changing space for public expression. What is interesting is that these unusual wonders exist in a country that feels very clean, safe, and peaceful. The Czech Republic may surprise visitors with its extraordinary stories, but it rarely feels chaotic. It is this combination of history, creativity, and order that turns small details into the most memorable parts of the journey. Number 9. The cost of real life. The Czech Republic is often considered a more affordable destination than many Western European countries. But life in Prague is no longer as comfortable as the image of cheap beer and convenient transportation that visitors often see. The country still uses the Czech koruna instead of the euro, and this difference creates many financial traps. Exchanging money at the airport or central train station can cause visitors to lose up to about 1/5 of their money's value because of unfavorable exchange rates. Some ATMs aimed at tourists also add hidden fees. A safer option is to use ATMs operated by major Czech banks. Public transportation is one of Prague's strengths. The metro and streetcars operate reliably, and on some routes, The wait for the next service is only about 2 or 3 minutes. A short-term ticket costs about 39 koruna. Although many older information websites still list the price as 20 koruna, taxis hailed directly on the street may charge high fares, so local people often use Bolt or Lyft-to-go. The larger problem involves income and housing. At the end of 2025, the average monthly salary was about 52,000 koruna. Meanwhile, a standard one-bedroom apartment in Prague could cost nearly 21,000 koruna per month to rent. Housing alone takes up nearly half of a typical income, not including electricity, food, transportation, and other expenses. Prague may still be cheaper than Vienna or Munich for international visitors, but compared with local wages, the city has become one of the more expensive places in Central Europe. Beer may be cheap and public transportation highly convenient, but for Czech residents, daily life still comes with clear financial pressure. Number 8. The Brainy Nation and its Impossible Language. The Czech Republic is a highly educated society where nearly everyone can read and write, and most people complete high school. However, Czechs rarely view this as a special achievement. They often consider themselves only average compared with other European countries, and they use their phones while waiting for the streetcar, just like everyone else. The real challenge for foreigners is the Czech language. It has 7 grammatical cases, flexible word order, and many consonant clusters that are extremely difficult to pronounce. One famous example is the sentence "Struk, prust, skruza, kark," which is written without a single conventional vowel. It roughly means stick a finger through the throat, and Czechs often enjoy hearing visitors try to pronounce it. Although Czech is difficult to learn, knowing just a few greetings or expressions of thanks can make a major difference. Local people appreciate sincere effort more than perfect pronunciation. In a reserved and understated culture, trying to use the local language is one of the simplest ways to show respect. Number 7. The country that gave the world the word robot. Whenever people talk about robots, artificial intelligence, or machines capable of replacing human labor, they are unknowingly using a word that originated in the Czech Republic. Robot first appeared in 1920 Inches, a play by Czech writer Karel Čapek. The work tells the story of artificial workers created to serve humans who eventually rebel against the people who made them. It was an idea far ahead of its time, when intelligent machines still existed mainly in the imagination. However, Karel Čapek was not the person who directly invented the word. His brother, Josef Čapek, was the one who suggested the name robot. It comes from the Czech word robota, which refers to forced labor or the hard work that peasants were required to perform without pay. What is remarkable is that one of the words most strongly associated with the technological future originated from an ancient form of labor marked by pressure and injustice. Czech contributions to the modern world do not end with language. Chemist Otto Wichterle helped develop soft contact lenses into a product that could be used in practice. His first experimental device was not built in a luxurious laboratory. It was assembled from a children's construction set and a bicycle dynamo. This story reflects practical creativity, using simple materials to solve a problem that affects millions of people. A Czech scientist once received the Nobel Prize in chemistry. In addition, Gregor Mendel conducted his foundational experiments in genetics on land that is now part of the Czech Republic. His research on inherited traits later became the foundation of an important scientific field. In literature, Prague is closely associated with Franz Kafka, who once lived and walked through the city streets. His name later became a way to describe absurd, complicated, and deeply unsettling bureaucratic situations. With a population of fewer than 11 million people, the Czech Republic has produced many ideas whose influence extends far beyond the size of its territory. It is a country of quiet inventors and thinkers, where major contributions often begin with a small idea. Number 6. The Velvet Divorce. For most of the 20th century, the Czech Republic did not exist as an independent country in its present form. The Czech lands and Slovakia formed Czechoslovakia, where two communities with their own languages, histories, and identities lived under one flag. However, by the early 1990s, differences in politics, economics, and how the country should be organized led the two sides to decide to follow separate paths. On the 1st of January 1993, Czechoslovakia officially disappeared from the map and was replaced by two independent countries, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. What made the event remarkable was not simply that a country had been divided, because world history has witnessed many similar cases. What made it memorable was that the process took place almost entirely without violence. There was no war, no fighting along the border, and no bloody crisis between the two communities. The leaders of both sides chose negotiation, national assets, government institutions, and shared responsibilities were divided through discussion. The process later became known as the Velvet Divorce. The name suggests a separation that took place gently, orderly, and with less drama than most national breakups in modern history. Number 5. Hockey madness. Czechs are often described as calm, reserved, and unlikely to display excessive emotion, but when an ice hockey game begins, that composure can disappear completely. The Czech Republic is not known as a country where soccer or basketball holds the central position. The sport that can truly make the entire nation turn toward a screen is hockey. The Czech national team has long ranked among the strongest in the world, while the domestic league draws continuous attention from fall through spring. However, the most iconic moment came at the 1998 Winter Olympics in Nagano. In the final, the Czech team defeated Russia to win the first Olympic ice hockey gold medal for the independent Czech Republic. Number 4. Customs, etiquette, and the unwritten rules. Every country has social rules that are not clearly written on signs, and the Czech Republic is no exception. The first thing visitors should remember is to remove their shoes when entering a private home. Hosts often provide indoor slippers for guests. Keeping your shoes on is not a serious offense, but it is still considered impolite because it brings dirt from outside into the living space. When meeting someone for the first time, Czechs usually communicate quite formally. The greeting "Dobrý den" is commonly used. While personal space is always respected, they may not smile much, quickly share private stories, or seem overly enthusiastic with strangers. This does not mean they are rude. Friendliness usually develops gradually as both sides come to understand and trust each other more. Number 3. The Spa Town Secret. In Western Bohemia, there is a world completely different from bustling Prague. Here, Karlovy Vary, Mariánské Lázně, and Františkovy Lázně form a famous spa triangle, where the entire urban environment was built around the idea of relaxation and healing through mineral water. In 2021, these three towns were recognized as part of the Great Spa Towns of Europe World Heritage Site, marking their long-standing role in European wellness culture. What makes them special is that they are not simply cities with a few hotels or mineral baths. The structure of each town was designed to support rest and recovery. Long stone colonnades stretch through the town centers, allowing visitors to walk in all kinds of weather. Spacious parks, historic hotels, theaters, and elegant buildings create a slow pace of life that feels almost separate from the modern world. The mineral water here is not used only for bathing. Visitors often drink it directly from the springs, using special spouted cups. For about 2 centuries, European aristocrats, politicians, artists, and members of the upper classes came to these towns to take the cure, drinking mineral water, walking beneath the colonnades, resting, and socializing all became part of the process. Number 2. The real Czech soul. The true soul of the Czech Republic is not found only in its castles, glasses of beer, or historic streets. It appears in the way people combine personal freedom with shared responsibility. The Czech Republic ranked 11th on the 2025 Global Peace Index and is described as safer than much of Western Europe. The streets are clean, the police presence is not overly heavy, and many areas still feel safe at night. Although most people are no longer closely connected to religion, society has not fallen into disorder. Education, the law, respect for personal space, and a sense of community help maintain order. Czechs are often private, reserved, and cautious when meeting strangers, so they are sometimes misunderstood as cold. But once trust is established, their warmth is usually lasting, sincere, and does not need to be openly displayed. Number 1. Ending. The Czech Republic is more than historic Prague, cheap glasses of beer, or castles that look as though they came straight from a fairy tale. It is also the land that gave the word robot to the world, helped develop soft contact lenses, carried out a national separation without war, and turned ice hockey into an almost sacred source of pride. Czechs may be reserved during a first meeting, but they value honesty and relationships built over time. They protect personal freedom while still following small rules at home, in public spaces, and around the beer table. That is the true soul of the Czech Republic. Intelligent, yet humble, free, yet responsible, reserved but not cold. It is a country that does not need to show off to prove its worth, because its safety, order, and sincerity speak for themselves.